Welcome to Royal Empire, your destination for exclusive royal investigations and stories the public rarely hears. I'm your host, and today we are sharing testimony that challenges everything people believe about the Sussex family. This is not gossip, not spectacle, but a story built from quiet observations and unanswered questions. Make sure you subscribe now, because once you hear this, you'll want to stay with us as the truth continues to unfold. It all began with a whisper, a gentle question spoken so softly it almost vanished in the room. Meghan's own mother, Doria, leaned in one day and asked something that stopped everyone cold. She asked what Archie and Lilibet were like. She admitted she had never really seen them. No stories of birthdays, no memories of small hands reaching for hers, no details about their voices or favorite toys. A grandmother is supposed to know these things, and yet she didn't. Not because she forgot, but because she said she had never truly spent time with them. That single moment opened a door no one expected to look behind. If the grandmother closest to Meghan rarely saw the children, then who did, and why did she seem hesitant to even ask? As that question lingered, more details began to surface from someone who spent long days inside the home itself. A housekeeper, speaking anonymously, came forward not for attention but because silence had become too heavy to carry. She worked there for months, long shifts, walking every hallway and cleaning every room. Yet she said the house never felt alive. It didn't sound like a place filled with family energy. Everything looked carefully arranged, untouched, as if it existed for presentation rather than daily life. Nothing felt used. Nothing felt warm. What unsettled her most was not what she saw, but what she never saw. Homes with children leave traces everywhere. Shoes by the door, toys under tables, small messes that can't be avoided. But inside that mansion, there were no toys, no scattered clothes, no laughter, no crying, not even a forgotten sock. Only silence. Heavy, constant silence. One day she quietly asked another staff member if they ever saw the children. The response was a simple shake of the head and a whispered no. This wasn't after days or weeks, but after months of working there. The world believed Archie and Lilibet were growing up behind those gates, yet the people inside couldn't find a single sign they lived there. The housekeeper began asking herself the same question Doria had whispered earlier. Where were the children? She noticed that Meghan's presence in the house felt different from that of a parent. At first, Meghan appeared a few times a week, staying briefly. She often arrived with assistants and sometimes full media teams. It felt less like a family home and more like a place where moments were staged. Over time, her visits became even less frequent. Staff quietly remarked that she seemed more like a visitor than someone settling into daily life. The housekeeper observed that interactions seemed carefully timed, often aligning with cameras. Conversations felt deliberate. Movements felt rehearsed. The home appeared designed to support an image rather than a routine. The illusion of a normal household began to feel thinner with each passing week. One evening, a tense moment changed the atmosphere entirely. Raised voices echoed through the house, sharp enough to stop people in their tracks. Harry's voice didn't sound angry, but strained and exhausted. The housekeeper saw him looking overwhelmed as others stepped in to calm the situation. The energy in the house shifted after that night. Smiles faded. The mood grew heavier. The sense of harmony felt increasingly fragile. What shocked the housekeeper most was something she never witnessed at all. During her months of work, she never saw Meghan expecting a child. No visible changes. No everyday signs that staff often notice simply by being nearby. She assumed at first that timing explained it, but others quietly admitted they noticed the same thing. Outside the gates, the world saw polished images and magazine covers. Inside, the reality felt different. Later, after leaving the job, the housekeeper watched the Netflix documentary featuring Meghan and Harry. She expected to recognize the home she had cleaned so thoroughly. Instead, the spaces felt unfamiliar. The layout didn't match. The garden looked different. Scenes of family life shown on screen didn't resemble the place she knew. It felt as though those moments were captured somewhere else entirely. That realization stayed with her long after the documentary ended. Security inside the property was intense. Phones were surrendered daily. Personal items were checked. Cameras seemed to follow staff rather than family life. Even a simple photo of flowers near the entrance resulted in immediate intervention. The message was clear. Silence was expected. Control was constant. Quiet conversations among staff revealed a shared unease. The laundry worker never handled children's clothing. The person managing groceries never purchased items meant for young kids. Others confirmed they had never seen Archie or Lilibet. These weren't dramatic claims, just observations repeated by multiple people whose routines never changed. Over time, a pattern emerged. A grandmother unsure of her grandchildren. A house kept pristine but empty. Staff who saw everything except the children believed to live there. A home designed to shield something rather than nurture it. None of this forms an accusation, but it creates a picture that raises a question too persistent to ignore. If the people closest to Meghan and Harry, the ones inside the gates every day, never saw the children, then where were they? The public has seen carefully framed photos and interviews filled with warmth and music. But inside the home, according to those who work there, the story felt very different. Silence filled spaces where childhood should have been. And as long as that question remains unanswered, it continues to echo. As the silence inside the house grew heavier, the housekeeper began noticing something else that never changed. Days passed exactly the same way, one after another, without any variation that children naturally bring. Morning routines stayed quiet. Afternoons stayed still. Even evenings felt untouched by the energy of young lives. No rushed footsteps, no bedtime routines, no voices calling out from another room. Just the same carefully controlled calm, every single day. What troubled her most was how prepared the house always was, as if someone expected visitors at any moment, yet no one truly lived there. Beds were perfectly made and never disturbed. Hallways remained spotless no matter the time of day. The rooms looked like they were preserved rather than used. She began to realize this wasn't accidental. It was intentional. Staff were instructed never to ask questions, never to speculate, never to speak about what they didn't see. The rules were clear and constantly reinforced. Conversations were monitored. Schedules were tight. Every movement inside the property felt observed. Yet for all the oversight, one presence was missing from every corner of the home. As weeks turned into months, the housekeeper noticed that when children were mentioned at all, the subject shifted quickly. The tone changed. People became careful with their words. It was as if everyone understood there were topics that simply didn't exist inside those walls. Then there were the deliveries. Packages arrived often, but none were labeled with the things usually meant for young kids. No birthday surprises. No seasonal items. Nothing that suggested milestones or growth. Time seemed frozen in the house, moving forward everywhere except where childhood should have been unfolding. The housekeeper recalled standing alone one afternoon near a window overlooking the grounds. The garden was quiet, untouched, perfectly maintained. A place where children should have been running, playing, laughing. Instead, it looked more like a backdrop, beautiful but unused. That was the moment she fully understood why the home felt hollow. It wasn't missing furniture or decoration. It was missing life. What made it harder was knowing how different the outside image appeared. Interviews spoke of joy. Public appearances suggested warmth. Carefully chosen words painted a picture of togetherness. But inside the house, nothing matched that narrative. The contrast was impossible to ignore. She began to wonder if the story being shown to the world wasn't meant to reflect reality, but to replace it. A version that felt safer, easier to control, and carefully constructed. And the longer she stayed, the clearer it became that the house existed to support that version alone. By the time she left the job, the question no longer frightened her. It simply followed her. It followed her home. It followed her into quiet moments when she replayed her days inside that mansion, searching for something she might have missed. But the answer was always the same. She had seen everything there was to see, and what she never saw mattered more than anything else. This brings us to the end of today's Royal Empire investigation. We've shared testimony from those closest to the situation, from family members to staff who lived the daily routine. We'll continue examining this story carefully and responsibly, asking questions that deserve answers. Make sure you're subscribed to Royal Empire so you don't miss what comes next. Share your thoughts, stay informed, and keep questioning. Because in the end, truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how carefully it's hidden.